Right, welcome back, another video. I'm trying to get through the last few engines I've got kicking around that we sat around for years. I think we've had this in the container, it was my son's, about 15 years. It's Wolseley wd1. A lot of people say, oh, well, the only difference between this and the wd2 is the two has a finned hopper. No, there's a different size crank. These have a smaller diameter crank in them, and there's a few other subtle differences, I think, from memory. This one's been frost damaged. It's one of our ubiquitous steel chassis that we make, and I found a couple of extra holes in the chassis. This chassis was something else, and my son obviously repurposed it. It's got quite an unpleasant frost damage, which is quite common. It all seem to go there on these if you leave them full of water. You know, whether it was just left outside over the years and filled up with rainwater and froze, who knows. It does turn over. It used to run, but it hasn't run in 15 years. The mag's still sparks, the valves are stuck. And all the oils run out of it, but I'll bring you a bit closer. But the mag's still got a hell of a spark on it, but the problem we've got is, get hold of it, you probably can't see it, but those crank bearings are shot. And what happens is, I'll bring one over here because we have sourced some other crank bearings, but basically, I'll bring this up here, see that well there, I'll pick it up. There's a little hole in there that drips oil. This is full up of rubbish because it's been sat around for years. And what happens is these fill up with goo from your engine if you don't change the engine oil regularly. People never did when they were in service. And it starves the white metal bearing of oil and destroys them. And these look pretty good. I mean, when my son got hold of these all those years ago, you couldn't get crankshaft bearings for love of the money. But of course the world's changed and you can now. So you could replace them with new aftermarket ones. But I'll zoom in a bit and you can see that horrible frost damage. And it's been repaired as they normally are for these kind of things. It's been brazed up. I'd imagine that was gas welded back in the day, whether somebody did it, because it's got bits of bluey grey paint. Because WD stands for War Department. But yeah, this is quite typical, and I have been cleaning this up in the hope that key's going to come out, and whoever put the key in there last gnarled up the crankshaft and sort of squidged it around the back of the key, so I'm hoping it's going to come out. I have had them snap off and I've had to drill them out, which is an absolute barrel of laughs, as you can imagine. Now this tool I made years ago is for bigger ones. It's designed to go over a bigger shaft. The key slides in there and you turn it and it grabs hold of it and you can put a puller on it. This is too big for this, but I can kind of hook it round behind the key, and I'm going to put a big chisel behind it and give it a whack. I'll get you in a different position so you can have a look. That may pull the key out if it's not been driven in with a sledgehammer. And really I need to get the flywheel off and get the head off tank off, and then we drain what little oil's left in it and then lift it off the chassis and get the chassis out of the way. We're going to get it stripped down in the machine shop. It's warmer in here, it's easier to heat in the big workshop. So I hope you can hear me over the heater. Right, I'll get it set up a bit better and we'll see if we can get this thing off. Right, hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm going to do. I don't know whether the camera will pick up the spark off of this, but considering this has been sat in a container for 15 years and I haven't even cleaned the points, I'm amazed. It'll probably want a new condenser in it, because condensers today just do not last. All we can do is try with a big hammer. I don't like doing this, but we've got limited options unless I make a proper puller for this particular one. And this is the last one of these I've got. I've got a Lister, an N-type in bits that came out of a sale. It was belonged part of a collection that caught fire. Again, my son bought it years ago and it needs a mag, and one of the valves and guides got broken. One I think was moved in a hurry to get it out of the building, I'm led to believe. Now that isn't ideal, as you can see, but I'm hoping if that isn't been driven in there by a gorilla, we can slip one of these behind here, one of these behind here. This is a bit Heath Robinson doing it this way, but it does sometimes work. We'll give it a go. Don't want the head of the key to snap off because that is a world of pain. I do think it is moving. It is a bit of a fiddle, but if you put a couple of chisels behind the head and do this, you can just pull the head clean off. And I don't really want to do that. Yeah, it's moving. It is moving. There it goes. They do not always come out like that. They really don't. So I've had them snap off completely and I've had to drill them out. Just need to get that. There you go. That was a result. That was a real result. And it's not stuck to the shaft. The other thing is these can often seize to the shaft, and that becomes a lot of fun to get them off. This is a brand new Lucas LRA 100 alternator. I'm assuming it's a Chinese one from 15 years ago. I could be completely wrong, but here we go. Hopefully with a WD on there that will come off. Yeah, it is. This is where the end of the shaft will probably be a bit swelled. There we go. Don't drop it on your foot. Now hopefully the exhaust should just unscrew if it's not rusted in there. Yep. I don't know if this one's got any holes in it. Oh yeah, as it's rusted through, that's not on. You can now get these. Reproduction ones are now available. This one's got a hole in the bottom. I might have to get another one for it. Unless I can weld that up, might be able to weld that up. It doesn't look like the only hole in it. But you can now get reproduction ones of those exhausts. The fuel line seems to have, it's like a double nut, it looks like a bit of pipe's missing, it looks like a right hotchpotch affair under it. Anyway, that's no good, so I need to look into why that is the way it is. I swear that tap should go straight in the bottom of that tank. But anyway, we'll look into that. That's still good. There's a spring with a little plunger on here, and it's like a ratchet. That is still in good order. They quite often, the springs go. I need a bigger spanner to get the float bubble off. Let's go and get. Now, what have we got? That one? Yeah, it's that one. Now I have absolutely no idea of the condition of this engine internally. Whether it just wants the crank bearings replaced, the crank's okay, and a set of piston rings, and the valve's doing, and it'll run. It did run, and it ran quite well, even with knackered crank bearings. The mag will probably be fine with a good clean and a new condenser. I've got some condensers from the States. Whether they're any better than the ones we get here, I don't know. But the ones condensers in general now are just junk. That's your main jet. Look there. The camera full. Yeah, fills up, goes through a little passage there, gets sucked in, pop, 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 away it goes with a bit of luck. And I bet that's. Oh yeah, that's going to be interesting to get that off. We'll worry about that another day. And we'll whip that. That is just governor speed control there. That winds up the governor spring. because the butterfly for the carb is actually in here. It's not in as part of the carburetor, it's part of the block. On this, the WD1 and the Russian Hornsby PT, and of course there's a big argy-bargy over who invented what. Was it the PT was before the WD, or the WD become before the PT? I don't know, to be brutally honest. But yeah, butterfly is in there. Hopefully that's not all seized up. Homemade gasket, and in here will be valves. Undo that. Yeah. I think someone might have got enthusiastic and over tightened that. I don't know whether it's picking up on the camera. Stupid thing. There's a dirty great big split in that. Or somebody has just wound it up so tight it's split that apart. But it's probably leaking and there's no gasket. There's no gasket on there and it's not on that plate, so that might have had something to do with it. We've got a coach bolt in there and a normal nut and bolt in there. And I'm always amazed, you get some bolts with rusty as old Nick and they just undo. And you get others that you think, yeah, that'll come out. Yeah, dream on. I don't really want to chuck this in the bin. We've had it so long. If it's retrievable, I'd like to retrieve it. Well, hey, well, there you go. Not that it really matters. Yeah, you see, that's got silicone in the bottom of the tank. Nice. You see, oh, yeah, we got plastic pudding. I don't recall it ever leaking, but that is certainly coming away now. So I think this tank might have issues somewhere. And of course now the question is, how far do you go? Do you just want to get it running? Or do you want to actually make it half decent? Because it's, you know, sorting the oily bits out is fairly straightforward. It's making it look pretty, and I'm not generally too worried about that. So, and you got to remember, these engines aren't actually worth any money. So, you're from point of view of time spent, you're on hiding to nothing. You do it for the love of it and to prove you can actually pull it back from the dead. Even when they've got cracked blocks and damaged crankshafts and shot bearings, I've made crankshaft bearings, cam bearings, piston rings, just to prove I can make it work. And work reliably. As I say, you're on an absolute hiding to nothing financially. Right, let's take his hat off. These are side valves, so all the valves and that are in the bottom here. Right, come here you. How tight are these? There's only 5 bolts. I don't know how tight these are. Okay, tight enough. Get the handlebar on out. There we go. And it's just 5 big brass nuts. And they're I know these are rusty, but they are brass. It's just a brass dome nut. Stops the water going down the thread and hopefully not seizing the head on the studs. Obviously the crank and crank bearings have got to come out. I'm not going to strip every last piece out of this engine, but I don't have to. Oh yeah, it's not stuck. And the gasket. Maybe torch, just have a look in here. I'll get you in a bit closer in a minute and have a look. Have a look and see what we got. Oh yeah, there's water damage in there, a few rust marks. Yeah, Hone will clean most of that up. Not too bad, I've seen far worse. Yeah. But yeah, it's not too bad. No great gouges in it or anything like that. But yeah, you can, oh yeah, there's a load of, this thing's been rusted up and seized at some point. Yeah. I don't know whether the camera would pick that up, but there is a load of, it'll run, it's been running, but you can see there's rust marks in the bore. But yeah, in an ideal world you'd rebore it and either sleeve it so you can use a standard piston, or you put an oversize in it. But again, how far do you go? The other crank bearing is in here, and this tin cover, which is only pressed on, is normally long since gone walkabouts. Yeah, so ideally we need to get the front crankcase off and drain the rest of the oil out, take the big end apart, knock the piston out, and then we can pull the crank out. That goes out that way. And I'll have a look at the rest of it. I'll try and get you inside with the camera so you can see what's inside it. If there's no real wear or damage to any of the cam gears or anything, I'm not going to strip this little lot out. I don't see the point. I will take the mag off because I've got to work on the mag anyway, and I'll show you to time it up. It's not very difficult. It depends. If this is really grotty inside and absolutely filthy and it needs to be jet washed out, which it could be, I don't know, then we'll have to strip the whole lot out and start with a bare crankcase like we did the little Fowler. But these engines will start by being bumped off the flywheel, which is cool. So if you don't want to swing on the crank, on the starting handle to get them going, you can literally bump these off the flywheel, bump them off compression on the flywheel, and they'll start. And there is a drive in here, and these often snapping off. Yeah, this one's all right. It's a fibre drive. This one all right. These have a habit of breaking. Put that down, and I've ended up putting steel bands around them before. Yeah, this one's busted. Yeah, this is not uncommon. Right, let me bring it up here. There it goes. Now I'll see if I can get a replacement one of these. There's a slot this way and a slot that way, and there's a crack there. The camera's picking it up, but and I have put steel bands around these, pressed a steel sleeve over it, and it works fine. So we may end up going down that road. I'll see if I can get a replacement. Yeah, what a pain. You don't know what you're going to get till you get amongst it. Right. I don't know whether the camera will pick this up, but there's a peg in there, and as you turn it, it jams on that bit there. And then as the engine goes, because it's slow speed, will you focus, you stupid thing? And as this comes round, it knocks the peg, and it gives it that quick whip to give it a spark, and once it starts going fast enough, centrifugal forces a weight on that, and that little arm flicks out the way, and then the impulse doesn't work. But these old Wyco mags are incredibly reliable. Right, let's take the inspection door off. Let's see what we got. This is where I'm going to be regretting buying this off my boy all those years ago when he wanted to get rid of it, because it's completely shot, and I should have let him just sell it when it was running, because it did start to run. It didn't knock, even though there was a bit of play in the flywheel side crank bearing. Right, engine plate says engine number 3587, whether this is the original door or not, who knows. Type WD, 1.5 horsepower, 750 RPM. Hello, hello. There's a bit of oil in the bottom. I can't feel any up and down play in that big end, which would be lovely if there is not. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but there's just a little dipper on the end of the conrod. And that is all that splashes the oil around. That is it. It would be lovely to think that that is not as clapped as the right. Split pin. I need to get a drain the oil out of it, because you know I'll drop the nut in the oil. There's not much oil left in it, but you know damn well I'll end up dropping it. Hang on, I'll go and get a tray. Right. Don't like using adjustables, but it was there. Yeah, there it goes. And this has got, but it's not smell-o-vision, because this has got the classic, that oil has been in there way too long smell. While that's draining out, I am going to have a look in the governor housing, because there's a lot of homemade gaskets around here, and I wonder if there's a gasket in here. No point getting it going and then find it spews oil out everywhere. And we've got a few oddball nuts that we shouldn't have. Let's have a look, see what we got. Oh, got part of the gasket, it's all busted. I'll get the camera off and get you in here so you can see what in here. It's just a set of bob weights. Yeah, that's had it, that gasket, so yeah, that needs replacing. And you can adjust, yeah, it's not stuck. Well, it's still draining, and I took the oil level and fill off, so that, well, this will get us into the water jacket. Shall we have a look and see what horrors are in here? Whether it's choked up solid or clean. I need to get a socket for that one, I think. Yep. I'm going to come undone. These often rust through or get frost damaged. And there is a very big, I mean, one more finger as it's picking it out on the camera. There's a, it's not right through, but there's a corrosive hole there. Really weird. Because there's a water, there's a slot there, the water jacket is there, and then there must be another 1/2 inch thickness of material, even where that is recessed. Wonder what happened there. And it looks like somebody's been using the wrong size socket on the big end nuts as well. I don't like doing that, but I don't have a lot of choice when it's like that. Yeah, there's a little nut on there. Right. What surprises await behind the green door, I wonder? You can see a crack appearing. It's been glued on with magic goo. Okay. Get a screwdriver or something. Just well, I've seen worse. I've seen a lot worse. Whether that will come out, we should have a brass tap in there. Well, it didn't have to, but it's more likely to get drained down at a brass tap than with a bung and then ends up frost damaged. Can't really see what I'm doing, and I can't see what I'm doing, but the back nut in here was loose. They just stuck a split pin through it. It wasn't even done up tight. Oh God. And clearly used, I don't know where the camera's going to pick this up, but oh yes, stupid thing. And you can see it's clearly somebody has used the wrong spanner on it. The front one was pretty grim. Let's hope this hasn't been rattling around and mangled the big end. Okay, well that's pretty good. That's not bad, that's not bad at all. I can live with that. Yep. Okay. Yep, and that's pretty good. They're not really worn out at all. Rings aren't stuck. Hello, hello. And somebody had already marked this, which way around it goes. Now the big end is really good. There's no scoring or gouging or real wear in it. Let's hope the crank's in the same condition. Just needs some new castellated nuts. Piston doesn't look too bad. Certainly serviceable. Bit of rust marking on it, but no gouging. I need to mic it up, but it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good, which is a bit of a relief. Right, I'm going to take this cover off because there is a screw in here. There it is, which the starting handle grabs hold of, and if you don't take that screw out, you cannot get the crankshaft through the bearing. That's the screw. And I'm going to undo those 4 bolts. That should slide off and we should be able to pull the crank. I'm not worried about timing it up with the timing gear or anything like that, because I'll do all that when I put it back together. I just want to get this blown apart this afternoon. Not the right spinner. What do I do with that? So I've got paint. Now these should be, well, they were traditionally grey, and WD stood for War Department, and hence they were grey. But a lot of them found their way into general purpose equipment, and they got painted whatever colour. So you can't really go far wrong. Paint it whatever you like. And whatever you paint it, there'll be somebody on the rally field that will pick a fight with you over it, that I'll guarantee you. And be able to wax lyrical what colour certain serial numbers were painted to. I'm not going to video me washing all this like out and jet washing things, because that's kind of pointless. I will just get everything cleaned up, and a list of parts ordered, head gasket, all the others will make. Obviously got to get the valves out, have a look at the valve seats. And valves, hopefully if I need valves, Cox and Turner have got some. They're very good for old engine stuff. They have extremely good knowledge, as well as a lot of old parts. Now, wipe the other side off. Right. It's been so long since I've had one of these apart. Voila, one crankshaft. Now these are marked for timing them up, but yeah, they look pretty good. It looks alright actually. I'll bring it over. Now look. So a few rust marks on that one. It was obviously sat for years, but don't look too bad at all. Not really picked up or anything. Yeah, there's rust on the gears and stuff, so it's obviously been sat with water in it at some point. Have a jolly good clean up, pull the valves, and we'll come back when I've done that. We'll probably call this bit part 1, because it is now a strip clean everything, even the chassis, paint the chassis, and all the parts, head gasket, depending what the valves are like, set of piston rings, felt seals for the crank because they're missing, worn out, gone, and we'll come back and we'll hone the bore, and I'll show you what the valves are like and do the bearing, and we'll put the whole thing back together. So I think, yeah, we'll call that it for this one, and we'll come back at part 2 when it's all nice and clean, and start sorting it out. So I'd say thanks for watching, and we'll see you in part 2.